Welcome to the week 2 go-to session. This is the second session of 4 we're holding this month, thanks to those who are in attendance. Um, Obviously, we're going to cover week 2. You should be able to see my screen, yes. So as you can see, it's the same pretty much as week 1. You have a weekly journal response. I graded those yesterday, and I think just about everybody did fine. In a couple cases, yeah, I had to remind people that there should be a summary of the assigned readings and a summary of the lecture. I'm fine with personal responses, but just make sure that you include some specific details that show me that, yeah, that you've done the readings and that you've watched the lecture. A good technique, if you're a little bit confused, is maybe mention 3 things: something from the beginning, something from the middle, something from the end. I know that's risky because people might just pick something from the beginning of the reading, jump to the middle, grab something, but uh, you know, uh, do what you can. Okay, I actually think the lecture. Don't get me wrong, the readings are important. I think the lectures are more important because the assignments in this class cannot be guessed at. They can't be figured out on one's own. So, for example, the week 1 lecture, yeah, if you, let's say, didn't watch the lecture and didn't get the gist of what ad analysis is and didn't see the examples. Remember, we looked at 3 ads and brainstormed together things that we could see, things that were interesting, like color and lighting and music and camera work. Um, we got to thesis statements, right? So even though the brainstorming worksheet, which I'm still grading, I'll comment on that as well. Um, yeah, if you try to complete that brainstorming worksheet, even though it looks simple, right? Just 10 questions, answer them. But if they're answered randomly, that's not so good. So yeah, the readings are important, but the lectures are more important. I'm fine with skimming the readings. Okay, you know, make your way through it, get the gist. Okay, get the gist of what's going on. If you can do that, that would be cool. If you're finding the reading really helpful, yeah, love it. Go through it. I've read all the chapters, admittedly a long time ago, but okay, I'm filibustering. Where was I? Oh yeah, week 2 stuff. So okay, so you have another weekly journal response. After my feedback, I think most people should get the gist of what I'm looking for. You have another achieve module. Okay, so those interactive things that I showed last week in the session, right, where you answer those grammar related questions. But mostly, I'm going to devote the entire session to really the next major writing assignment. This guy here, the 2.5 assignment. It's an organizing assignment, and it's an outline. Now, the good news is, okay, most of you probably are familiar with outlines, right? Actually, I prepared one real quickly while I went dark for a few minutes. Oh yeah, Spencer, I wrote you back. Did you? I know we should probably handle this. Well, you can type response if you want, because the people here and the people who watch this video probably don't care that much. But if you want to explain to you if my comment back to you made sense, that's cool. Okay, so while I went dark for a few minutes, I created this real quick outline. This is not what you're going to do, by the way. Um, so last week we talked about thesis sentences. So here's my thesis from that GPAD. Remember we looked at the GPAD? Looked at one way, it looks like a giraffe's head. Looked at another way, upside down, looks like a penguin. And I came up with this one, right, through the use of simple color, playful imagery, and a double meaning tagline that reinforces theme. The GPAD appeals to the inner adventure inside everyone, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there's the thesis. And to recap, last week I said I really pressed this number 3 because you have to identify 3 things going on in the ad, because those 3 things are going to help you build your entire paper, because we're aiming for a 5-paragraph essay. I know. I went over this last week, but it doesn't hurt to fly through it real quickly. So here are your 5 paragraphs. An introduction, so a hook, meaning some sort of opening move, a brief summary of the ad, and the introduction paragraph ends with your thesis statement, because the thesis statement sets up the rest of the paper, right? So somewhere here I have my completed Jeep essay. You'll see this next week. You have 2 essays actually to look at next week. But remember, I explained that I did most of the assignments for this class so I could see what it was like. So yeah, all this is kind of my hook, where I riff on the idea of Jeep, right? What it brings to mind. Here's my brief summary of the ad. And I have a slide about this in the lecture that we'll get to, but I'm going to try something different this week and just dive right into this assignment and walk through it. I think maybe that will be more useful than looking at slides. But here's my brief description of the ad. Brief, okay? So keeping it short. And then my thesis, which ends the introduction paragraph. And it sets up the rest of the paper. Because once you have your 3 points, hold on. There we go. Those 3 points will become your 3 body paragraphs, right? So your second paragraph is about thesis point number 1, color. Next body paragraph is about thesis point number 2, in my case, imagery. And so on, right? The third body paragraph is about tagline. And then a conclusion paragraph where you basically restate your thesis with different wording and bring the essay to a close. Now, if you're following me so far, if you're thinking, yeah, this makes sense, I get it. Maybe you've heard this stuff before, okay? The 5-paragraph essay. This is what you're doing, but more in depth, okay? But keep this in mind, 5 paragraphs, because here's what you're going to be completing. Now, remember when I said there's good news and bad news? The bad news is most students hate outlines. Usually because, yeah, they're confusing because, remember, actually, let me go back to my blank document. People generally know there's a Roman numeral, there are letters, you know what I mean, right? Letters, then they go to numbers, then they go to small, lowercase. I forget where it goes after that. Anyway, it's confusing, but you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to create the outline from scratch at all. Yeah, Spencer, don't worry. I'm suggesting that it's not confusing because you don't have to do any of this. We've created the outline for you. You just have to fill it in. But here's my number one message, okay? Because I do see maybe 3 to 5 students every month who do this, because you just completed a template, okay, that brainstorming worksheet, which I'm still grading. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. We instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround time. And I always need all those 72 hours. So that means tomorrow at midnight. And I apologize, but yeah, when I have 2 classes of 25 students, and you'll see, I write quite a lot of feedback. So I'll be grading things today, big time tomorrow. But yeah, you're all going to get feedback on your worksheet because you need that feedback to move on to this stage. I have graded, I think, like, I don't know, not very many. I've had too much to do yesterday and today. Half a dozen. And so far, the results have been pretty good. But okay, so here's what you're completing this week. And my caution is, don't confuse the week 1 brainstorming worksheet with this. Okay, this is not a template. I mean, it is a template, but it's not a worksheet. This is an outline. So each Roman numeral here, 1, 2, 3. I know some of you here in attendance and some of you watching this video are screaming at your screen, Mr. Sussman, I know what Roman numerals are. But each one represents a separate paragraph in your paper. Okay? You're just filling in the details. The caution is that every month there are 3 to 5 students who look at this and say, oh, it's like the week 1 assignment. These are individual prompts that just need to be filled out randomly. No. This is a blueprint. Okay, that's what an outline is. It's a blueprint for your essay. You're setting up the basic structure. So if you fill out this outline with care, you'll get feedback on the outline, of course, next week. But if it's good to go, or pretty much good to go with maybe some tiny things that need to be fixed, you are in really solid shape. So I have a completed outline. You have this too, okay? Again, every activity comes with completed examples. So for example, here, outline template, even says in parentheses, use this to complete the assignment. And then you have a sample outline, which I do have open, but I have so many Microsoft Word documents open, I have to find it. There's the Jeep essay. Let me get rid of the Jeep essay. Might need to come back to it. Okay, so here's a completed version. So Roman numeral 1 is your introduction paragraph. As I said, 3 things. A 1-sentence hook, enticing your audience to read more. To put this in layman's terms, I'm just asking for a 1-sentence preview of how you think your essay might begin. Okay, just a sentence. come essay time, yeah, you'll probably need to develop that beyond a single sentence. But here I'm just asking for one sentence. Yes, Spencer, you're going to fill these out with complete sentences. Is the essay in the portal? You mean the completed Jeep essay? That comes next week because we're not writing the essay yet. If you all want to tell me in the chat that you would find it incredibly useful to see the Jeep essay already, yeah, I could put the full essay in the activity if you want to see an example of a completed essay already so you can see what you're working toward. I didn't have it in there because I don't want to confuse people. I don't want people to look at that and think, oh, I have to write an essay this week. Okay, I'll label it appropriately so people don't get confused. But this is what I do, okay? So here's my one sentence preview of how I think I'll kick things off. Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself with its reputation for ruggedness, independence, and adventure. Okay, yeah, I like that opening line. Maybe you don't, but I kind of like it. And if you kind of maybe glanced at my completed essay, the opening paragraph, yeah, I'd go beyond just this one sentence. But for the outline, all I want is a one sentence preview. Be careful, by the way. I see lots of people. I'm fine with studying the models, but I see things like Call of Duty, the well-known game, practically sells itself with its reputation. Don't do that. Okay, that's technically is plagiarism. You should come up with your own opening line. But okay, so there's mine. Next, a concise description of the advertisement. 2 or 3 sentences. I think I have 4 here. So yeah, 2, 3, 4. But keep it brief. This is not what you had to answer in the week 1 worksheet. Remember where it asked, and I think the third prompt, for a detailed summary of the ad, explaining it as if you were having to explain the ad to someone who's never seen it before? That's not this. Okay, this is short, the gist. Because your reader is the general reader, okay? By general reader, I mean a perfect stranger. Think about it. When you read things online, usually the writer kind of holds your hand a bit. I mean, sure, maybe if you're on a video game site, they might not literally explain what Call of Duty is, but they might include details like Call of Duty, the popular first-person shooter. Yeah, probably readers know that already, but it's a feature of good writing that you explain things. You know what ad you're writing about. The thoughts in your head are clear, but they're not automatically evident to the reader. And I mention this because in both the outline and the essay, I see lots of sentences like this. In this ad, the man is nervous at work. By the way, does anybody know what ad I'm describing here from the approved list? This is the... Good. Yeah, Victoria. It's a McDonald's ad. But imagine that you're a perfect stranger, pulled in off the street, and the opening line of your essay is, in this ad, the man is nervous at work. You'd be thinking, what ad? What man? Right? This doesn't make sense to the general reader. So one piece of advice I'd give you, not just for this assignment, but writing in general, is step outside of yourself. Do not read your own work from the viewpoint of Alex or Christopher or Sierra or Spencer or Victoria. Pretend you're some plain Jane or some Joe Schmo who has you've accidentally come upon your own paper, but you're not you. Okay? Read that paper from that stranger's perspective, and you'll be able to catch things like this, because I do see this a lot. And it's understandable. Again, because we think that everything's already clear, or maybe because I'm the instructor and I know what ad you're talking about. Why does this need to be explained? Again, it's just a convention of good writing that instead of writing something vague like this, we write something like, in the McDonald's ad, first day, Andy, an anxious millennial, is on his first day of work. I'd like to eliminate the repetition of first day, but for now, that's fine. You can see the difference, right? This would not make sense to a person pulled off the street. This one, yes. So keep that in mind when you're completing the outline, and next week when you're writing your essay. Make sure you read your work from the perspective of someone who is not you. Now, you don't have to explain everything. You don't have to say, in the McDonald's, which is a fast food restaurant. No, your readers aren't stupid, but you do need to hold their hands somewhat. Again, it's just a convention. If you don't believe me, go find published pieces, professional pieces online. You don't see writing like this. Okay, you see things like this. Okay, so back to the example. So the introduction, one sentence preview of how you think you're going to kick things off. Just a brief description of the ad. Here I describe the Jeep ad. It's a print poster. It contains a reversible image. The image is a vintage hand-drawn animal sketch, which looked at one way as a giraffe head, looked at another way as a penguin. The word Jeep, along with the ad's tagline, appears above and below the image, right side up on top, upside down just below. Okay, so yeah, I started to essentially describe the McDonald's ad. Okay, same thing. You do the same with the Call of Duty ad, but try to limit yourself to like 3 or 4 sentences. Alex, same thing with the World Wildlife ad. I'm not going to give you the wording, but where's my document? There it is, right? The well, actually, no, the World Wildlife Fund, WWF. And once you put the abbreviation, then you can use WWF from there after. Fund ad panda is a print ad that shows an underwater world. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to write the summary for you, but see if you can explain your ad in like 3 or 4 sentences. Just the gist. And you do have this completed example, this completed outline to study. Okay. So if you get confused, just look at this example. Again, don't borrow wording, but see if you can do the same thing with your chosen ad. And finally, the introduction section asks for your thesis. Okay. Now, one of the reasons I have to get your worksheets graded within 72 hours is because you need feedback on the worksheet as a whole, but you definitely need feedback on the thesis. I think the thesis prompt, which I think is prompt number 9 on that worksheet, is arguably the most important section of that worksheet. Yes, I read through the entire worksheet, but it's prompt 9 that I'm most concerned about, because if you have a solid thesis, you get to move on, right? If the thesis isn't quite there, then I have suggestions. One person, I can't remember who it was, don't even know if she's here in this session tonight. Terrific worksheet, awesome worksheet, great ideas, but they weren't entirely there in the thesis. Like the thesis was okay, but there were stronger ideas earlier in the worksheet. So my recommendation to her was, you had these great ideas early, why not grab 3 of them and make those your thesis points? But yeah, once you have a solid thesis, where I say, yeah, that looks good, you got 3 strong points, boom, you can move forward to this assignment, the outline, because the thesis is everything. Once you have those 3 talking points, those 3 discussion points, the entire structure of the essay is pretty much built for you. Now, don't get tripped up. So that's the introduction paragraph. So now we go into the second paragraph of the essay. It asks for a topic sentence, identifying the first specific rhetorical strategy in your thesis. That is just fancy speak for thesis point number 1. Right? So my first thesis point was color. So I write a topic sentence. A topic sentence is sort of like a thesis for the paragraph. It's usually, not always, but it's usually the opening sentence, and it lets the reader know what the paragraph is going to be about. So here, the ad is an exercise in simplicity, especially in its use of color. So the reader knows this paragraph is going to be entirely about color. Then it asks for 1 main point you plan to make in support of this topic, a second main point you plan to make in support of this topic. That's what this means. Sentence describing a detail from the ad that is part of the rhetorical strategy. Fancy speak for, what is your topic? Color. 1 main point you're going to make. Another main point you're going to make. Research. We're going to talk a little bit about research toward the end. Right now, just understand that yes, this requires research. And the thinking here is that if you can do the research and have it in place now, then you're truly all set for the essay next week. By the way, notice it says sentence. So yeah, a single sentence, maybe two, but don't write paragraphs, okay? Because that's not an outline. An outline is where you get your main ideas on the page. Next week, you get to express yourself in more detail. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, topic sentence, two main points you make. Relevant research. So here I found a couple of nifty quotes about color theory. I found a nice quote about how earth tones are usually reserved for backgrounds. And if you remember the Jeep ad, yes, the background color is that khaki, that beige. And also that neutrals and browns, and the background of that ad was kind of a neutral, brownish, beigeish, is the epitome of nature, which fits the Jeep ad because the Jeep ad is playing on the idea of nature, the outdoors. And then you just repeat, okay? Oh, it does ask for sentences explaining how the research is relevant, okay? So here I explain that neutral colors are used primarily for backgrounds, just like in the Jeep ad. And these colors connect thematically to nature, which is also invoked in the ad. Okay? This is where you explain to yourself and to me that the quote actually fits, makes sense, that the research is relevant. And then you repeat. So paragraph 3, you move on to your second thesis point, which in my case was imagery, right? That animal imagery. There's my topic sentence. I make one main point in support of that topic. A second main point I make in support of that topic. Relevant research. So I found this nifty quote about the ad's imagery that when rotated, each of the images becomes another animal, leaving the viewer to choose which one he or she prefers, playing on their perceptions. Yeah, so that's kind of a neat quote. A quick explanation of why this is relevant. And then you move on to paragraph 4, which is your third topic, okay, your third thesis point. In my case, it was the ad's tagline, one main point, second main point, research, explanation of the research, and then finally the conclusion paragraph. Rephrase your thesis statement using different wording. That's what I do here. That the Jeep ads campaign is simple and its basic elements, color, imagery, wording, produce maximum results. And then give me 2 or 3 sentences for how you think you might wrap up the essay. Again, you don't have to be married to it. I want you to start thinking through your main ideas, right? So that you're not doing it on the fly next week when you're first sitting down to write the essay. If you get your ideas on the page now, including research, then you can literally you have the skeleton, okay? And you just need to hang flesh on it. You have the blueprint. You have the basic foundation. You just have to fill things out for next week's assignment. And yes, you'll need a references page. I'm going to go over this stuff, okay, in a bit. We'll talk about research and APA formats. But right now, does everybody feel comfortable with what I've gone over? Like what we're aiming for, a 5-paragraph essay, and that this outline is breaking down each of these paragraphs one at a time? Okay, good. Yeah, and if you ever get confused, open up the Jeep example, okay? Again, don't steal wording, but absolutely imitate or be inspired, or yeah, if you're ever confused, just study the example. Examples are great. Some people learn more for the examples than they do the lectures, which always hurts me, but no, I actually have had students who maybe the first 2 weeks they struggle, but once they finally see 2 sample completed essays, again, next week, I will put up the Jeep essay because at least one person, Spencer, said he could benefit from it. But next week, yeah, you have the Jeep essay and an essay on the Diet Coke ad that we looked at in week 1. So you have 2 sample essays to look at. And yeah, sometimes people learn most from just looking at finished, completed examples, and then everything clicks. Then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, I get this. This is what ad analysis looks like and feels like. Uh, Spencer says, so essentially the same amount as a GPad, the amounts of writing. I mean, this week it's just an outline. So don't start thinking about essay. Next week it's, yeah, you have to produce an essay. It's between 700 and 1400 words. This week you really just have to, you're mostly writing sentences. Okay. Right. I'm not writing lots of things, a sentence, a sentence, a sentence. Okay. Because again, that's what an outline is. You get your ideas on the page, your main ideas. You're not writing in full paragraphs for the most part. Let's see. Okay. Let me jump to the lecture. I'll fly through this stuff because we've already gone over it. Welcome to week 2. This is where I usually start. Yes, we're getting into the writing of the ad analysis essay. Here's a reminder. We looked at this last week, that every week in this class is devoted to a separate stage in the writing process. So we're here. We're in the research and organize area. Next week we'll be here writing a draft. And then the final week you'll get feedback. We'll do a peer review activity. And you'll get feedback from not only me, but 2 of your classmates. Again, this is week 4, so I'm jumping ahead. And you'll revise. But we're only working on one essay. Who is the intended audience? I've already gone over this. Oops, I didn't mean to fly by it though. It's the general reader. Okay, so your writing has to be accessible to that general reader, that plain Jane, that perfect stranger who's hauled off the street. They should be able to read your essay from start to finish and not stumble. What is an essay? An essay can be anything. A video can technically be an essay. The word essay, it actually has more antiquated meaning. It means to try, to make an attempt. Sometimes you'll see in very formal writing it used as a verb. I'm going to essay this task. I'm going to try this task, right? And you can kind of see the connection because an essay in writing is an attempt to do something, right? To communicate ideas. But yes, for this class, it's more traditional. A short piece of nonfiction writing on a particular subject. And yes, I do think it's fairly short. Actually, hold on. Let me take a look, just out of curiosity's sake. Bear with me. No, I don't want Siri. How long is my Jeep essay? I think it's like 800 or 900 words. I won't count the cover page. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, so 3 pages. Tools, word count, 925 words. And this is, yeah, about 3 full pages. So that's kind of what we're aiming for. I think that's fairly short. Since we're working toward a 5-paragraph essay, yeah, but if you write 5 thoughtful paragraphs, you should probably be knocking on the door of 3 pages, 2.5 to 3 pages. This we've already gone over, so I will fly through this, but there's an introduction. There's that middle section, the support, okay, and a conclusion. And we've already gone over this as well. The introduction is a general paragraph. It sets the stage for the rest of the essay. That's why the outline template asks for 3 things. A 1-sentence preview of how you think your essay might begin, a brief summary of the ad, keep it short, 3 or 4 sentences, and your thesis. That's it. The introduction is not the place to start talking in depth about the Call of Duty ad's choice of music or the use of color in the Altoids ad. Okay? No, that comes here in the body. The introduction stays general. This is where you develop and support your main ideas and include thoughts. This is also where your research will occur. Now, I mean, it's possible that research might appear in the introduction or conclusion. I think I do it in the Jeep essay. I'm sorry to go back and forth so much. Yeah, so here's my introduction, right? Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself, blah, blah, blah. And I did find this nifty quote that engineering and technology reporter Richard Truitt proclaimed Jeep, quote, the most copied brand of American vehicles, end quote. So yeah, I did include, I put research in the introduction, but it's general stuff, okay? I'm not diving into analysis. I just found a nifty quote where someone is reinforcing this idea that, yes, Jeep is incredibly well known. But for the most part, yeah, your research is going to occur in the body of your paper. The meat, yes, Spencer. I don't know why Siri keeps popping up. What can I help you with? Nothing. Get off my screen. Where was I? Okay, so introduction, body, and then conclusion. Okay, remind your readers your major claim, main idea. In other words, your thesis. It says set readers down gently. I didn't create this presentation. I would say find the right satisfying note on which to end your paper. Yeah, if you're confused about introductions or conclusions, that's another way in which the models, the completed assignments that you can study, will help. You can look at how other people have decided to kick things off. If you're not sure how to bring an essay to a satisfying close, you can look at, again, the Diet Coke example, the Jeep example. Okay. This we talked about last week as well, thesis statements. And I began this session with my Jeep thesis. Okay, so this is where you list your 3 main points, your discussion points, your talking points. Get off. This I've talked about as well. Topic sentence, topic statement. Start your paragraph with the topic sentence. Okay, so if you're writing about the Call of Duty ad and you're going to write about its diverse cast, its choice of music, and it's what's another cool thing going on in that ad. I always forget these things. Diverse cast, or celebrity cameos. Okay, so diverse cast, choice of music, celebrity cameos, because Jimmy Kimmel and Kobe Bryant appear in the ad. Yeah, so one topic sentence would be something that makes it clear that this paragraph is going to be about music. In another paragraph, the topic sentence would make it clear that this is going to be about the celebrity cameos. Okay. And then, yeah, the topic sentence is like the thesis for the paragraph. Lets readers know what's coming. And that's where you explain things. Provide evidence, including your research, and a link, or what I call a cincher line. And I know this drives people crazy, the way I keep jumping from presentation to document, but okay, let me just give an example. So here's the completed Jeep essay. I think a lot of you are going to follow this basic technique, which is, okay, so here's the paragraph about the ad's use of color. Topic sentence clearly establishes that this paragraph is going to be about color. You describe the issue, because again, the general reader, maybe they've seen the ad, maybe they haven't. Maybe they've seen it, but they don't remember it well. So yeah, you describe things. The ad's creator, Leo Burnett, has chosen a simple background of camel mesh. The ad's beige background brings to mind fabric and textiles, burlap, a tawny canvas tent, khaki clothing. The color might suggest environment, dusty paths, windswept dunes, even the debris kicked up in a Jeep wheel's wake. Okay, so I describe things. Then I explain. The color choice is no accident, for it reinforces Jeep's outdoorsy image. Then I have some research to support. Okay. And then here's my cincher. I tie everything together, or I tie everything up. The color scheme works to promote the rugged off-roading image that the ad's campaign's creators clearly desire. And then we move on to our next topic. Imagery. Same thing. I explain it, I describe it. I explain it. Anyway, I won't walk you through the essay, but that's the gist. Okay, so there's paragraph structure. Yep. Boom, 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 boom. Research. Okay. You need research for this paper. You need 3 sources. The good news is one source has already been given to you. if you would like to use it. And yes, I shouldn't have. I got to jump away from the presentation again. This time I'm going to go to our Full Sail class. Okay, so here's the outline assignment. As always, you can read the instructions on your own. Here, and I think it's included in every single major writing assignment. And yeah, 2 research sources have been provided for you. Well, actually, that's confusing. This video, Pathos, Ethos, Logos, and Advertising, and the ad itself. But the ad itself doesn't count as one of your 3 sources. In addition to the ad, you need 3 sources. Okay, 1 has been provided if you wish to use it, this video. And then you need to find 2 others. Okay, 1 should come from the Full Sail Library database. Another can come from online, as long as it's a reputable information source. So no Wikipedia, no online dictionaries, no IMDb, no biography.com, these very general encyclopedia-like, dictionary-like, wiki-like sources. I will show you in a second that you can go to Wikipedia and scan its references for good sources, but no, Wikipedia in itself, we don't quote. At best, it's like an encyclopedia. At worst, you don't know who's writing it or the quality of information all the time. Oh, by the way, if you do use this video as one of your 3 sources, in addition to the ad, please, please, please do something more interesting with this video than tell me that pathos is the appeal to emotion. Okay, that's a definition. You could have explained that in your own words. Slapping quotes around it doesn't really make it research. So please watch the video and try to find something in the video that connects to your ad, okay, beyond just telling me what the definition of these terms mean. Victoria says it stinks when we can't use Wikipedia and they like pay or something to always be the first result. Yeah, I don't hate Wikipedia. I use it all the time. And yeah, sometimes I can tell when a Wikipedia entry is fairly well written or not. Actually, you know what? Let me jump ahead. Let's dive full hog into research. Okay, so let me open up a new page. And I'm going to use a Call of Duty ad as an example, okay? I don't know if anybody here is writing about the Call of Duty ad. And you certainly don't have to choose this as one of your 3 thesis points, but I think the ad's musical choice, it uses the Rolling Stones song Gimme Shelter, is interesting because that song was not just chosen randomly. Okay. Yes, it's a well-known song. Yes, it's upbeat and it kind of matches the energy of the ad, and that's part of it. But that's not all of it, because any song could have been chosen if that's all they wanted, an upbeat, well-known song. No, why this song? Remember last week I really stressed that. We're trying to answer questions why. Why does the ad use this color? Why does the Call of Duty ad use the Rolling Stones Gimme Shelter? And this is where research would help. So if I type Gimme Shelter, okay, there will be a Wikipedia page for this. Now what I'm saying is don't grab information from here, okay? Even if it seems pretty good. If it does seem good, then find the little thingy, okay, and go straight to the source. So actually here is a very moody piece about the world closing in on you when it was recorded early 1969 or something. It was a time of war and tension. Wow, I'm actually helping people. If you want to use that quote, great. But yeah, okay, so that's 3. I was going to say that you should scan the references for, but okay, this comes from this source here, NPR, Mick Jagger on the apocalyptic Gimme Shelter. And I'm actually going to keep this page because I'm going to show how we can cite this in APA format. Oh, that's the other thing, right? Okay, so if we remember the outline template has these spaces. Let me close some of this stuff. No, don't save. So here's the blank template, right? So each body paragraph section asks for a quotation, including the APA in-text citation, okay? So yeah, if this ad is about, let's say I'm writing about the Call of Duty ad, and this body paragraph is about the ad's choice in music. Then here is where I would find that nifty quote. Okay, wherever it is. It was a very moody piece, blah, blah, blah. Okay, right? So I would take this. Again, we're imagining, okay? This is the section on the Call of Duty ads use of music. And it says sentence incorporating research. So that means you should type something like, according to NPR, in an interview with Mick Jagger. By the way, if you're writing about the Call of Duty ad, do not just imitate my exact wording that I'm giving you now. And you could really show off if you'd find another useful quote instead of the one I'm giving you now, because I'm kind of doing the work for people. When it changes font, if you just click on match destination formatting, it should fix things. There. Okay. So according to NPR, in an interview with Mick Jagger, quote, when it was recorded, this is something you can do, by the way. If the quotation itself is vague, you can put in brackets wording that makes it clear. So, okay, when it was recorded in early 1969, blah, blah, blah. And then we need a citation. I'm going to hold off on the citation for 1 second because I want to first show the Full Sail Library database, and then I want to give some APA basics. Here's the thing. Next week's lecture, I can't promise you it's going to be sexy or exciting, but it might be one of the more useful lectures because next week is going to be entirely devoted to APA. Next week, I'm going to open up a blank Microsoft Word document, and I'm going to show you how to make the paper look like that Jeep finished essay. That means the cover page. That means the header, which is the top 1 inch of the page. Spacing, paragraphing. I will create citations, in-text citations in real time, references in real time. This week, I'm going to point you to a couple places. One is projectapa.info. I'm going to copy that and type it into your chat window. I recommend going to the site, and if you want to, bookmark it. This site was created by a fellow Full Sail instructor. And I'm going to come back to it, okay? First, I want to show the Full Sail Library database. So let me sign in at Full Sail Connect. You all know how to get to Connect, right? Once we're in, just scroll down on the left, and you'll see Library. Scroll down, and you'll see Research Databases. You have a couple choices. The two most popular are probably EBSCOhost. EBSCOhost isn't a database, a singular database. It's actually a whole bunch of databases, including Academic Search Complete, Art and Architecture, Business Source Complete. But you also have LexisNexis, or formerly LexisNexis. It's now called Nexus Uni. Nexus Uni tends to search more newspapers, more kind of everyday things. EBSCOhost does that, some of that too, but it also searches more scholarly journals. I'm going to go to EBSCOhost. I'm going to begin there. You can do this nifty thing where you select all the EBSCOhost databases to search at once and click continue. Now here's a caution. I already know what keywords to enter to trigger a specific article that I use every month. Research will not come this quickly for you. Okay? Oh man, I closed it, but okay, so let me show something real quickly. Here's my finished Jeep essay again. Here's the finished paper. I have 6 sources. Okay, you only need 3. I have 6. It took me hours to find these 6 sources. Okay, I did not find these in 5 minutes. I had to read through several websites to find just the right quotations because I really wanted to find useful quotations about color. Not just color in general, but specifically earth tones. Okay, because those are the colors that are being used in the Jeep ad. And then I found some other stuff. Okay, but you don't have to have this many sources. You can certainly go over 3 if you wish to. But my point here is, yeah, it took me hours. So it's not going to be something that you do in 2 seconds. So if you get frustrated because you're not finding things and it's only been 15 minutes, again, I've been there. Okay. Probably took me 3 or 4 hours to find all this. Yeah, Spencer, I don't know if you were saying bookmarked about projectapa.info, but I'm going to say bookmark your research. Okay. When you find something potentially interesting, don't lose it. So anyway, I already know what to put to trigger results. I'm going to type in Gimme Shelter and Call of Duty. Now, I can give some general tips on research. Um, it's probably not terribly useful to type things like ad analysis and your thesis point. So if you're writing about the McDonald's ad and the use of color actually is important in the McDonald's ad. Yeah, if you type McDonald's first day use of color, you're probably not going to get anything. In that case, it's probably best to go to, for example, a website that deals with color theory. Um, what was I going to say? Or, and this is a little bit difficult to explain, but I call it reverse engineering. I sort of knew when I was writing my Jeep essay what kind of research I wanted to find. I knew I wanted to find a quotation that explained earth tones, okay, or explained beige as a color relating to nature. I just had to go out and find it. I call it reverse engineering because you already know what you want to say. You already know what your quotation ideally should touch on. You just need to find it. And so you could do Google searches or to come here and use the library database. And yeah, be creative with your keywords. Okay. Again, don't think too literally. McDonald's, ad analysis, color, because that's probably not going to trigger very much. Or in the case of here, since I already know that it's, yeah, I want to learn about the song. By the way, anybody want to take a guess? I mentioned that Gimme Shelter, it's a well-known classic rock song, but any classic rock song could have been chosen. So why does the Call of Duty ad use Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones? Anybody want to take a guess? Yeah, the quote I just copied in kind of hints at it, but it doesn't explain everything. Spencer says because it was recorded in the 1970s. Good. The second part, during Vietnam. Anybody familiar with the game? Call of Duty Black Ops, the first one, when it's set? It's set in that time period. So remember last week how everybody's kind of eyes opened when they looked at the ads and suddenly realized, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on here. Like this choice of color or background is not accidental. In this case, Call of Duty, yeah, the song choice is not accidental. The game is set during the Cold War, which is that decades-long standoff between the United States and mostly the Soviet Union, but against communism as a whole. But the Vietnam War was certainly part of that period. Because the game is set during then, yeah, they choose an era-appropriate song. Probably most people don't think that, but it's clever. It's a subtle way in which the ad is communicating what the game is about, and at the same time, finding an appropriate song that also matches the mood of the game. And as other people have noticed, yes, the lyrics are about war. So I'm helping the Call of Duty people a lot. But so here's this article called Gimme Sales by Ann Donahue of Billboard Magazine. It's a short piece. Obviously, you have to either read or skim to find out if it's useful. At first glance, this doesn't seem terribly useful. There's some factoids about game sales, but that doesn't help me understand why the song is meaningful. But then there's this stuff here. According to Activision's Vice President of Music Affairs, obtaining, that's what they mean by scoring, Gimme Shelter was no small feat. Okay. And it continues to explain because this guy had to fly to New York to actually get permission to use the song. Even showing the band members, the Rolling Stones themselves, an early edit of the ad to get their approval as well. Now, that's not explaining why this song fits the ad, but it is sort of tangentially interesting, right? Because it does kind of offer some evidence that clearly they wanted this song, not just any song. Again, if they just wanted an upbeat, energetic song, they could have chosen any of 1,000 songs. No, they wanted this song. So yeah, maybe there's something potentially interesting here. So I'm going to return to this specific article next week, because again, next week's going to be completely devoted to APA. Now, if you could be a little bit patient, I might have to go 5 minutes past the hour mark, but I do want to talk about APA format. Here's what I want for the worksheets. Because next week is completely devoted to APA, I'm not going to be expecting perfection on the outline. But what I do want to see is each of you give it a good college try. Pardon the pun. So you have projectapa.info. And if you go to in-text citations, and just the first guy here, formats for quotations. There are two ways you can incorporate a quotation. Just copy one of them, okay? You can use the author's name in your actual sentence and then deliver the quote. Or you can just find your own natural way to deliver the quote and save everything for the end. So if you keep in mind, remember I started to write a quotation in the blank outline, which is right here. Oh no, that's not it. Here, let me get rid of this. I've got too many things open. Here, right? According to NPR, in an interview with Mick Jagger, quote, when the song was recorded, blah, blah, blah. This comes from this article here, okay? NPR staff, so there's no author. There is a title, there is a date. The rule here is that I'm going to get into this next week, but we need an author's last name. So, for example, if the author's last name was Smith, and then the year, this article was published in 2012. So, author's last name, comma, year, comma, page or paragraph number. So, in the Full Sail Library database, sometimes you'll have a PDF document that is an exact reproduction of the actual pages from the journal. If they're true pages, then yes, use a page number. If it's an article like this where you have to scroll down to keep reading it, you count the paragraphs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It comes in paragraph 6. Okay. And the abbreviation is lowercase p-a-r-a period 6. So author's last name, comma, year, comma, page or paragraph number. Now, if there was a page number, it's just lowercase p period and then whatever page. But here it's a paragraph number. Now, Smith is not the author. The author is the NPR staff, but I think that falls into the category of the no author rule. If you have no author, put the first 2 to 3 words of the article title in quotation mark. Okay, so Mick Jagger or Mick Jagger on. Okay. If for some reason there isn't a year, use the abbreviation N period D period for no date. Now, most of you probably won't be in this situation. Most of you will have a clear author's last name, like Smith, comma, 2012, comma, paragraph 6. Okay. This might be the easiest way to do it. Just find your own natural way to lead into the quotation, deliver the quotation, and then afterwards, put the author's last name, year, page, or paragraph number. Okay? Does that make sense, or is it already getting confusing? This is why I devote an entire lecture to this, because APA can get a bit hairy. Use projectapa.info, again, in-text citations, very first entry, and just copy one of these two formats. I think this one might be easiest right now, okay? And here's my promise to you. If I can clearly see that you're making a decent attempt at APA, sure, maybe you make some mistakes, but you're not just inventing. You're not doing things like, I don't know, this. John Smith, date 10/12/94, right? You're just making up some entire, you're just winging it. So you have projectapa.info. You have the samples. Again, if you get confused, go to the Jeep example. This is the completed essay. Where's my Jeep? Here it is. Okay. So here's the completed Jeep outline. If you're confused, just go to the Jeep outline and find an example. Here's an example. Okay. The ad encourages viewer interaction, comma, for, then comes my quotation. So I lead into the quotation. Once the quotation is over, author's last name, year, page or paragraph number. There's an alternate way to do it. This is what makes APA confusing. It's sort of like choose your own adventure. There is a way to mention the author's name earlier in the sentence, but for now, I don't know. Just do this, okay? Author's last name, year, page or paragraph number after your quote, and you should be good. Now, final thing we need to go over in today's session. You need references. Again, you can go right to the Jeep example and imitate. Here, let me find an... Actually, you know what? Let me use this. Oh, here's the cool thing. If you do find something through the library database, you have a little citation tool. It makes mistakes, but here's the APA reference. It makes mistakes. For example, author's name should not be in all caps. But yeah, sure, grab it. Okay. And then, what was her name? Donahue. So it'd come here. My computer's freezing up again. Match destination formatting, so it puts it in the same font as everything else. I'll explain this next week, but yeah, fix the mistakes. This should be lowercase. APA has goofy rules where it's not like MLA. We don't capitalize important words. We actually capitalize just as we would a regular sentence. So the G in gimme would be capitalized because it's the beginning of a sentence, but the S in sales would not. And finally, you need a retrieved from line. And if it comes from the library database, you just put the name of the database. In this case, it's business source complete. If it comes from online, so for example, this article here, you just grab the URL. So where's my... Okay, so let's imagine that this was that article. Boom. So I would say go to the Jeep example. Just copy, okay? Author's last name, comma, first initial, period. Date in parentheses, the title of the article, the name of the publication, and then a retrieve from line. I know I'm rushing things, and I probably spent too much time earlier on other things, but do we feel confident that you can go to, let's say, either the Jeep example or projectap.info? Because if you go to references, same thing, okay? So newspapers, magazines, and databases will probably be where most of you go, although some of you might go here for websites. And again, you see examples. Copy the examples. Because again, I promise to be generous. I'm not going to be nitpicky. If you can't remember the special capitalization rules, for example, here. Okay, capitalize just as you would a normal sentence. You in Ukraine is capitalized because that's the name of a country. Crimea, the same thing. Actually, I think Crimea is part of the Ukraine. But everything else, lowercase. Same thing here. So if you don't remember those silly things and you accidentally capitalize every major word like in MLA, yeah, I'm not going to take off points. I want to be able to look at your outline and say, yes, this person is trying to follow APA. It may not be perfect, but that's fine because we're going to get into specifics next week. What I don't want to see, again, is just an invented style where people are just dropping in URLs and calling it a reference. Okay? Again, that's my promise. Other instructors are much more strict about this. They want APA perfection already in week 2. I think more leeway is needed, but just, yeah, give it your best shot, okay? But I should be able to recognize that, yes, you're trying to follow APA. Anyway, questions, comments, that's really what I want to go over. I do apologize because I feel like I shortchanged APA a little bit, but just, yeah, study the examples. If you think it's better to go right to the Jeep outline and just find an example of a quotation and do the same thing with your quotation, in your information, great. If you want to go to the cheap references page and just copy what I did there, author's name, date, great. If Project APA is easier for use, that's fine. But just don't make it up. Okay, again, questions, comments about anything we've gone over in this session, the outline assignments, or anything that pertains to the class as a whole. If you are comfortable with what we've gone over, you are not required to stay. I do thank you for attending, and I'll see you next week at the same time. Please show up. Like I said, it's not the sexiest topic, an hour of APA. I think I can do it in less time, though. I think I can probably do it in 45 minutes. And it will be a follow along. I'll encourage you to also open up a Microsoft Word document. And if you follow along with me during the session, then you already have APA format set up. You just need to fill it with your own text. Yes, I remember most of you from week 1. So, again, I'll hang out for a little bit to answer questions if people have them. But if not, you're allowed to go enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you so much for attending, and I'll see you next week. I mean, you'll hear from me before next week, of course. I have to grade your worksheets by tomorrow at midnight. Okay, Spencer, I'll check it in just a moment when the session is over. Victoria, you have a good week too? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording because I don't think people are asking too many questions. So for those of you who are watching at home, adios.